The moment my fiancé looked at me with disappointment instead of trust, I realized my parents had finally crossed a line they could never come back from. My name is Daniel, and growing up, my parents cared more about appearances than truth. Everything in our family revolved around image. Perfect holidays, perfect photos, perfect stories told to neighbors and friends. And if reality didn't match the image they wanted, they changed the story until it did. For years, I ignored it. Small lies at first. Exaggerations. Twisted versions of conversations. They always framed it as protecting the family. But eventually, I became the target. I was the only one in my family who refused to let my parents control every part of my life. I moved out young, built my own career, and kept healthy distance between us. That distance only grew after I met Emily. Emily was calm, thoughtful, and impossible to manipulate. My parents hated that immediately. At first, they hid it behind fake kindness. Compliments that sounded slightly forced. Smiles that disappeared the second Emily left the room. Then came the subtle comments. "Are you sure she understands commitment? She seems very independent. I just hope she knows everything about you." At the time, I thought they were simply being difficult. I had no idea what they were planning. About 6 months before our wedding, Emily started acting differently. Not cold exactly, but cautious. Like she was studying me quietly instead of relaxing around me. I asked her about it several times, but she always brushed it off. Then one evening, I came home and found her sitting silently at the kitchen table holding her phone tightly. "We need to talk," she said softly. The tension in her voice immediately made my stomach tighten. She looked at me for a long moment before speaking again. "Why didn't you tell me about your daughter?" For a second, I honestly thought I had misheard her. "My what?" Emily looked confused by my reaction. "Your parents told me everything," she said quietly. "About the child you abandoned when you were younger." I stared at her, completely speechless. Then I laughed once in disbelief. "Emily, I don't have a daughter." Her expression didn't change. "They showed me pictures." That was the moment my chest went cold. Because suddenly I understood exactly what had happened. A few years earlier, my cousin Rachel had gone through a difficult situation after becoming a single mother unexpectedly. During that time, I helped her financially and spent time babysitting her little girl whenever I could. My parents had dozens of photos from family gatherings where I was holding that child. And they had turned those photos into something else entirely. Emily looked devastated. "They said you paid Rachel to keep quiet," she whispered. "They said you were ashamed." I couldn't even process the betrayal immediately. My own parents had fabricated an entire secret child to destroy my relationship. Not because it was true. Because they knew it sounded believable enough to hurt me. I explained everything calmly. Every detail. Every timeline. I even offered to call Rachel immediately. But damage like that doesn't disappear in one conversation. Doubt had already entered the room. And doubt changes everything. Over the next few weeks, Emily tried to move forward, but I could feel the hesitation between us. The trust we once had so naturally now felt fragile. Meanwhile, my parents acted innocent every time I confronted them. "We were only trying to protect her," my mother claimed. "Secrets always come out eventually," my father added. The terrifying part was how calm they were while lying. Then came our rehearsal dinner. To everyone else, it looked perfect. Elegant restaurant. Family gathered together. Soft music. Wedding decorations waiting for the next day. But underneath all of it was tension thick enough to suffocate the room. Emily barely spoke to my parents all evening. I stayed polite only because I refused to create a scene before our wedding. Then something unexpected happened. Rachel arrived. I hadn't invited her personally. Emily had. At first, I was confused. Then I noticed the little girl standing beside her. Lily. The child my parents had claimed was secretly mine. The room shifted the moment they walked in. My mother's face lost color instantly. Rachel greeted everyone politely before sitting near Emily. I think we should clear something up, Emily said quietly. The restaurant suddenly felt completely silent around us. Rachel looked confused at first, until Emily carefully explained everything my parents had told her over the past several months. The silence afterward felt unbearable. Then Rachel laughed softly in disbelief. Daniel isn't Lily's father, she said immediately. He's the reason we survived financially after Lily's actual father disappeared. Emily looked at her carefully. So none of it was true? Not even close. Rachel reached for Lily's hand gently. Daniel helped us when nobody else did, she continued. Your parents hated how much Lily adored him because they thought people would assume he was her father. I turned slowly toward my parents. Neither of them could even meet my eyes. For the first time in my life, their image had collapsed publicly. Not through anger, not through revenge, just truth. Emily looked completely stunned. You let me believe this for months, she whispered toward my parents. My mother immediately tried defending herself. We were concerned. No, Emily interrupted sharply. You lied. That single sentence changed the entire atmosphere, because suddenly everyone at the table understood what kind of people my parents truly were. My father tried one final time. We were protecting the family. Rachel shook her head quietly. No, she replied. You were destroying it. After that, the dinner ended quickly. People left awkwardly. Conversations disappeared. The perfect image my parents spent years protecting cracked apart in a single evening. Outside the restaurant, Emily stopped me before we reached the car. I should have trusted you, she said softly. I looked at her for a long moment. You trusted the people who raised me, I answered quietly. I understand why. But the truth was, something inside me had changed permanently. Not toward Emily, toward my parents. Because lies are one thing, but watching your own family deliberately destroy your future with fabricated stories changes the way you see them forever. The next morning, my parents called repeatedly. I didn't answer. For the first time in my life, I stopped trying to fix the damage they caused. I stopped defending them. I stopped protecting their image. And slowly, over time, distance gave me something they never had. Peace. Emily and I still got married. But my parents weren't there. Because some betrayals don't end relationships loudly. They end them quietly. The moment trust finally disappears for good.